So we are on lesson 60. All right, so for question A, this is a subtraction. You had two not doesn't look like a fraction right away, but it they are both fractions. So with the first one, the 5, you may want to write that as over 1. Okay, so now we'll do 5 over 1 minus 1 over 2x. Okay, and so now we will do the factored version. And the factored version of 1 is just 1, and 2x is just 2 times x. So therefore the 1 will be 1 dot, the 2 will be 2 dots, and then the x will be 3 dots. Okay, so now we can write our common denominators, 1, 2, and x. So 1 times 2 times x, 1 times 2 times x. We will copy the fractions 5 and 1, and then we will do the circle. Okay, so the circle would be 5 over 1, which is this. So therefore, we'll multiply this 1 by 2x, and then 1 over 2x is that. So we just multiply this one by 1, okay, which is technically just you're not doing anything. Okay, so now we will rewrite the whole thing with the same denominator, 1 times 2 times x, which is 2x. And then the top one will be 10x minus, because that's a minus sign in between them, 1. Okay, so now, is there anything else we can do? No, nothing really. So that's it for letter A. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. All right, so tell whether the expression blah 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 and negative 1 are equivalent. So we will do, well, this is obviously the more simpler one, so we will do the other one. So 6x minus 5 over 5 minus 6x. And they kind of look the same. However, their signs are different. Like 6x on the numerator is positive, 6x in the denominator is negative. In the numerator, the 5 is negative, and the denominator, the 5 is positive. So what you can do is maybe you can pull out the negative sign. So if I do that, if I factor out negative 1 from the top, okay, and not factor out anything from the bottom, I will just keep the bottom the same way. All right. This you do this whenever the signs are. I mean, the numbers are exactly the same, but the signs are completely opposite. So you factor out negative 1. So now the positive 6x divided by negative 1 becomes negative 6x, and then the negative 5 divided by negative 1 becomes a positive 5. Now, if you look at this, isn't the top, even though it's not the same order, they're exactly the same. This is a negative 6x, negative 6x, positive 5, positive 5. So therefore, this and that can be canceled out. So that's got to be equal to negative 1. So you make a decision if that's, so this one right here is for that. And you need to compare with this. Okay, so the next one is letter C. Solve the equation. So this is an equation. 1 plus 5 over 3x equals 7 over 3x. Okay, so remember before we check how many terms are there on the left side and on the right side, and we want to get rid of the denominator. Okay, so there are two terms on the left side, one term on the other side. So we will multiply this by the denominator 3x. Okay, and we will multiply each of the terms with that 3x. So the first one will end up 3x. The second multiplication will cancel this with that. Okay, so that's going to be plus 5 equals, this one will cancel with that, equals 7. And so now from here, you can just continue answering. All right, so now let's move on to letter D. Okay, so you have 9 minus x minus 1 equals 3 plus 11 over x minus 1. You notice this is similar to letter C, and they have the same denominators, right? So there are so many ways to answer this. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to multiply the whole thing by, I'm going to put this in parentheses so I know that they are together. I'm going to multiply this by x minus 1. Okay. All right, so there are three terms. So you multiply this, you multiply the 3 with that, you multiply that with this. Okay, so now when you multiply the left side, this one will cancel out with that. So you only have 9. when you multiply 3 with a parentheses, it will end up like this, right? Because you're multiplying them together. When you multiply the x minus 1 with the second term right here, the x minus 1 will cancel out. So you have 11. It doesn't get canceled. This one doesn't get canceled with this, and then we don't have to multiply that. You need to multiply the 3 as well with x minus 1. And so from here, you can just distribute this and solve the equation. Okay, so I'm gonna skip letter E. I'd like you to try that on your own though. Okay, so let's look at what. Okay, true or false. You try to do that on your own. Number 3, it says select the fully reduced form. Okay, so this is just a plain fraction. So 2x plus 4 over 4x plus 2. Okay, so we will need to factor out the numerators and also factor out the denominators and see if there's anything that will cancel out. Okay, so 2 is just 2. So you can't do anything about that. X plus 4, there's really no common factor between x and 4 other than 1. So therefore, we will keep it that way. The 4 is 2 times 2. And then the x plus 2, also nothing to, uh, you can't really factor that anymore. But you can cancel out this 2 and that 2. And so therefore, whatever is left, that should be your answer. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. So same thing, 8 over 2x minus 12. So we factor out the numerator. You will have 2 times 2 times 2. And then this is a binomial. So do not factor it like this. Okay, you don't need to do that anymore because you have graduated on that on from that one. So if this is a binomial, pick which one is in here that's also in here, and that would be 2, right? So now you have x minus 6, and so now you can cancel this first 2 and that 2, and so therefore whatever's left, that would be your solution. So as you notice, I'm not really completing the answer because I would think by now that you would be able to just need a little push on the starting part. But then hoping that you can answer the full end of the solution. I'll see you on the next set of questions.